This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Bryan Driscoll, and I'm here with Angelo Thompson. What's going on, man?
Hey, Bryan. Great to see you, man. How are you doing?
Hey, can't complain, So Angelo's down in the Tampa market, right?
That is correct. Yep. Sunny Tampa, Florida.
Yeah. So give everybody a little background on like what you do.
Awesome. Yeah. So we have a team down here, Bryan. We do we do wholesale, fix and flip, and we own some rentals as well. Started out as wholesaling. Right now we have a team of about 12, and that consists of full-time acquisitions. We have 4 there, dispositions, and then we have a team of cold callers and we have 2 virtual assistants as well.
All right, cool. So yeah, you're doing wholesales and flips and cherry picking what you want to keep, right?
That's right. And
Nice.
we're based out of Tampa. We operate in Memphis as well. So I'd say right now we have a pretty good split between the revenue we're generating from Tampa market and then also over in Memphis.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
All right, so cool. So now I got a question for you too, because your LLC name, In God We Trust Investment Properties, right? What made you come up with that name?
Man, when I got started, Bryan, I wanted to do something that reflected my values as well and my faith, and to me that's extremely important. So I kind of pondered the name for a while and decided to go that route. So,
all right, cool. Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
So a lot of people like we'll talk about, because you were in the corporate world, right?
Yeah, I was, man. I worked for a lot of people are familiar with some of the colleges where you go and really it's geared towards adults, career training. I worked for a few private colleges that were owned and backed by investment companies out of New York, out of Wall Street. Some of these companies were billion-dollar companies. And so, yeah, I was in the higher education, private sector in colleges.
Yeah. So, and you were making decent money there. Like how'd you stumble on learning about wholesaling, and what made you look into that?
Yeah. So it's funny. I had a neighbor at the time. This is about 7 years ago. I've been doing this about 7 years now. And he actually was running a marketing business. And one day I happened to be talking to him, and he told me about this strategy where you can make money and you don't have to put your own money up front. And, you sell a piece of paper. And I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't even sound like it's real, man. There has to be a catch to this. And so it's funny, at the time I thought he was doing deals. Come to find out he really wasn't doing deals, but he knew of it. And he was actually doing some marketing for some guys that were doing deals. And so, I read up on it. I started watching some videos, read a few books, and decided to do a direct mail campaign. He helped me out a little bit with the direct mail campaign. And I started putting out some bandit signs. And, it took a while. My wife's like, what are you doing? You're spending money here, but we don't see anything happening. So it took me about 90 days to get my first deal closed. It's funny because I was actually getting properties under contract, but the problem was when I did this, Bryan, I was doing a lot of convincing and selling. And we both know a motivated seller is motivated for their own reasons and
right.
Whatever challenges and struggles they have to sell that property quickly, right, at a discount. So I didn't really understand that. I didn't understand that concept at the time. So I put some properties under contract that fell out, and it was really discouraging at first. And then, like I said, about 90 days in, I had my first deal closed. And then shortly after that, man, they started kind of trickling in, and we started making a little bit of money. So
nice. You remember how much you made on the first deal?
Yeah, it was about $8,000 is what
right.
I made on that first deal. And it's funny. It was almost like, this is too good to be true until this money hits the account, right? Like I'm like,
right.
Because I had challenges, like I said before, with these deals falling out. And so I knew it was real. Once we got that first deal closed and funded, I was like, okay, this is real. And at that point, I spent probably about $3,500 in marketing. About $3,500 or so between direct mail and some bandit signs.
Yeah, and that's interesting too. You bring it up with contracts falling out. Like a lot of people, when you're dealing with a seller, you don't need to. If you sell them, sometimes you can pressure them into wanting to sell, but then it's a long time between closing.
Yep, that's
There's
right.
a lot of time that they can back out, get seller's remorse, all that kind of stuff. So that's interesting you brought that up.
That's right. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was crazy, man. They go through the whole process. I mean, this was all face to face at the time, which we do everything virtually now. But at the time, I'm going out and working my full day there at the college. I was the executive director at the time. Work a full day of work, and then I was setting these appointments in the evenings, and get out to the property, have great conversations, walk the property, get them to sign a contract in 24, 48 hours later, I'm getting a call or a text message like, hey, I didn't, I don't want to move forward. And, it was just, so that was pretty frustrating, like I said. But eventually, I caught some traction, and I was actually able to resign from that position after about 9 months in.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Virtual. So how are you liking that? And how's that working out?
Man,
like, lower close rates, or
it's funny, Bryan. When I first heard of this concept, I'm like, there's no way how are you going to get someone to sign a contract and you're not able to see them face to face? You can't see body language, you can't see expressions. How are you going to do this over the phone? But it turns out we're able to make a whole lot more offers. My team's a lot more productive. In the sense of contracts signed and then also contracts closed. Our business almost doubled when we figured out this technique and how to actually uncover motivation over the phone, build rapport, and then essentially, they're signing the contracts electronically. So it really helped our business grow quite a bit.
How'd you figure out to do that? Did you take a course or something?
Well, it's funny. I was a part of a group in Tampa. It was a mastermind group in Tampa, smaller group, and a couple of the guys in the room and one of the main speakers, he kept talking about this virtual wholesaling, and so we really kind of took it to heart and looked into it, and we're like, you know what? Why aren't we doing this? You can only run physically so many appointments in a day, right? Like, even if you have, a couple acquisitions people, they can run 3-4 appointments max between travel time, building rapport, uncovering motivation, walking the property, right? You're talking, I'd say, an hour and a half to 2 hours per appointment, right? So, I mean, if you had somebody fantastic, maybe they could do 4 or 5 appointments in a day, within reason, depending on the geographical area. But, if you're able to do this over the phone and you're getting warm transfers, like a lot of my acquisitions guys do from the callers, you're able to triple that, right, in a day. You can talk to more people, make more offers, get more contracts signed. And we've been able to figure it out, and it's actually worked really well. So we've been doing that now almost 3 years.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. How do you know what to offer them, like with price of properties, things like that, like condition?
Yeah, great question. So what we do is we look at comps. We have access to MLS in the markets we're in. We'll look at comps. We'll look at what properties have sold for, the condition of those properties, taking into consideration, obviously, the features of our property. And then we come up with an offer range. But before doing any of that, we figure out your reason to sell, right? So if Bryan's calling me and he has a property to sell, why, right? Because we want to buy at a discount as investors. So we figure that out. Then we get to the point of uncovering motivation, building rapport, and then we make an offer range. And so from there, if that range is accepted, we then present the purchase agreement. Then we send someone out to take photos, walk the property. Sometimes I'll send an inspector out if it's one that we're going to fix and flip. I'll send him out to actually do like an abbreviated 4-point inspection.
Gotcha.
So that gives us a good idea. Sometimes the sellers will send us photos of the property, the ones that are tech savvy enough to be able to do that. Not all can. So that's a bit of a challenge, but we have a really good idea. We look at comps. We know what, we know what properties are selling for in that area. So it's actually not difficult at all once you figure out what comps to look for, what's selling, what's on the market, and what's recently sold in that area based on.
Yeah, that's interesting. So then if I hear you right, you got people prospecting, they get someone that's interested. You guys are on the phone with them, finding out their motivation. I'm guessing you're asking what issues the house has, like taking the word on it to come up with the comps. And then you're sending them agreement. Are you putting that range on the agreement?
No, we actually give them a specific number. So we present a range initially, and then we'll talk further about that. And, from there, our acquisitions folks will, they'll maybe put them on a brief hold or something like that, and then come back and present an actual number.
Okay.
We kind of feel them out with the range to kind of see, even if we're in the same ballpark. And like I said, obviously that's after figuring out, bedroom, bath, square footage, updates, big ticket items, right? We want to know about the roof, the AC, electrical, plumbing, et cetera. And then we go from there. So, and pretty quickly, I mean, you've been doing this for a while too, Bryan. You kind of know when I go in and I'll listen to calls with my acquisitions manager. It's pretty obvious the folks that have a real interest in selling and they're pretty motivated for whatever the reason may be. Those are the folks that, again, they have a need, right, to sell, and they see us as a provider of their problem, right? We're problem solvers. And, when there's a problem and we can help solve it, folks are willing to move forward, and usually that is at a deeper discount, for obvious reasons, whether condition of the home or, trying to avoid a foreclosure or whatever the case may be.
Right. And then so you say you're doing Tampa and Memphis, like why not do everywhere?
Yeah, it's funny. I've talked to some folks that have done that, Bryan. Very few people I know of have been successful going national. I know it can be done. I'm not saying it can't be done. Not yet, not for us. You know what I mean? I think there are a couple other markets that we're thinking about, and we've done deals actually in some other markets, Charlotte, Cleveland, where else? We've had some properties under contract down in Texas, but our main two markets and where we generate most of our motivated leads are in the Tampa and Memphis market.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. I don't know a single person personally that's crushing it doing national. Everyone's like, hey, let's do national because we can get leads real cheap. And then they're like 3 months later, we couldn't figure out how to take all those leads and either dispo them or convert them into cash, or it's just a whole bunch of issues. So
yeah,
but that's why I was curious there.
Yeah, it's you create, quite the process for dispositions, right? When you got properties all over the place. And we both know, I mean, even in a market like Memphis, street by street, it's completely different, as far as what the values of the homes are in the desirable areas. Same thing in Tampa. You go down one street and it's a hot, low days on market and everybody wants a property there. You go another street over and, you're somewhere where no one wants to be. You can't give the property away. Those type of things are I think, take some time to figure out. And then when you go national like that, it definitely creates quite the problem, I think, in the dispositions area for sure.
Yeah. So like anyone listening, virtual allows you to scale, but it's also, you have to have good processes, right? Like you have to have
Absolutely.
good processes, know where you're talking, boots on the ground, different things like that.
Absolutely.
It's not all cake in the sky like people selling courses are talking about.
That's right, man. That's right. It's it's one thing to hear about it and have it presented. It's a whole other ball game to actually apply it and do it, right?
Yeah, and then get them to close.
Yep, that's right.
So say some people are sitting there in comfy jobs right now and they're thinking about going to real estate also, like what was the point that you're like, you know what, I'm switching?
That's a great question, Bryan. And it's funny. You hear that, sometimes the enemy of great is just being good, right? And you're just there cruising and settling. I think for me, the CEO at the time when I was at the college, great guy, gave me an opportunity. I was the youngest campus director there, and he saw something in me, and at the time, and gave me an opportunity, and it was awesome. I really enjoyed it, and I did well. They actually moved me to a bigger campus, and he ended up hiring a chief operating officer. And at the time, I wasn't real thrilled about it, and just the way she managed, right? And so, nice woman, very, smart, very capable. Just didn't appreciate the micromanagement. And I got to a point to where, I was being told, hey, look, you hit your revenue goals, you guys keep your retention up, this is in store for you as an increase. And I heard that for about 2 years, Bryan. And I was, we were crushing numbers, man. I had an awesome team. They made my life pretty easy. I had some other department directors underneath me. And, I got tired of hearing that. And I was putting in a lot of hours, 60, 70 hours a week, expected to stay late, especially when we had an, orientation and those kind of things. And I got to the point to where I said, you know what, there has to be more to this. I don't want to continue sitting and building someone else's dreams, right? Working for someone else the rest of my life. I go into some of these meetings and folks were a lot older than me. And I thought, man, I don't want to be here when I'm their age. This is a great job. And I probably could have stayed. I could still be in the industry doing it. But I knew there was more. I knew I could do more. And I felt like my time was worth more. And ultimately, man, I wanted an out. I was looking at some other things before even getting into wholesaling and real estate. And I think for me, Bryan, the tipping point to answer your question was the promises that never came through, with the pay or with other things. And I got tired of somebody controlling my schedule. And so I said, you know what, I'm really gonna, put my best foot forward and try to figure this thing out. And, at the time I was reading books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which, that's a classic, right? Especially for us entrepreneurs. And, I was just ready, man. I was ready for that change. I was willing to put in the work, and I did, man. I worked a lot of hours when I started this business, but I knew I needed to get something going part-time and really, put my best foot forward and put some time and energy into it, man, to get it going.
Yeah. And you started it as a side hustle too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's smart. Cause a lot of people get excited and they're like, you know what, I'm quitting my job. I'm doing this. And then that's a lot of pressure. Like if it could work, or it could take you 90 to 120 days to get that deal. That depends,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think, for folks out there that want to get started, want to do something, do some research, but don't have analysis paralysis, right? Because it's easy to do that. But take some action, even if it's part-time, 10, 15, 20 hours a week, start building that business, do that. Yeah. Keep your day job and do what you got to do to take care of your family or provide for yourself. But definitely put in the work, do the research, put in the work, understand what you need to do to be successful and go for it.
Yeah. Now what's your schedule like now? How many hours you working a week?
Man, I shouldn't tell you, Bryan.
I think I already know.
I think we laughed about this before. Truly 25 to 30 hours, man, if that, if I'm being completely honest. Now, there are times where, I get after a little bit more than others, but on average, 25, 30 hours, man. I serve at my church. I coach my son's basketball team. My daughter's in volleyball. My oldest daughter is a college cheerleader. A lot of family time, man. And, just focusing on, I put God first and then my marriage and my kids. And, business is good and we've been blessed, but it's not the end all be all, man. I spent a lot of time chasing dollars in corporate America. Before I became a campus director, we moved all over the place, man. I was taking promotions and moving every year, literally 9 months to a year. And, my family would hang back and the kids would finish out the school year. And it took its toll on us, man. My kids, my wife, all of it. And I put so much into just chasing, this corporate dream and trying to climb the corporate ladder. And now I look back, man, and I'm like, what was I thinking doing that for so long? We get to a point to where you're able to build a true business where you're not just a solopreneur. And then you have the opportunity to really have more flexibility and freedom of time. And to me, people are like, oh, well, time's money. No, time's more important than money. You can't go anywhere and buy more time, right?
True. Yeah.
So I truly enjoy it, man, from that standpoint.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there too, because you get rewarded for 20 to 30 hour weeks now because of, number one, leaving a comfortable job, taking that risk, being uncomfortable. Like it takes balls, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doing stuff like that, because it's big moves. Even though you did it on the side, you saw some money coming in, but I think most people have the problem. It's like the pain's not there enough, or people don't like to be uncomfortable.
That's right. That's right. You're absolutely right, Bryan. And it was, man, even with having a little bit of money tucked away and having some deals in the pipeline set to close, it was still very uncomfortable. I mean, I was making low six figures, when I left the college, and that was a steady paycheck, man. Every 2 weeks, I knew what to expect. I had full benefits. I had I'd say pretty secure position there. And, relative to what we know now, right? How secure is it? But, I did. And it was tough, man, to let that go. It's like, ooh, I could just continue doing this part-time, right? But it got to a point, Bryan, where I realized me being here full-time is costing me money in my business because I'm only able to focus on it part-time. So I got to a point to where I realized, hey, look, I could be making a whole lot more money if I focused all of my efforts or my full-time hours on this job, right? Or on this business. So that, that to me, I think that was eye-opening. I realized I could be doing a lot more in my business if I wasn't being, at that point, my job became, I felt like more of a hindrance to my success, what I knew, would be successful and future success for me.
Yeah. And that's important too. Like anyone listening that's like in that situation too, like start doing stuff on the side. Like, why not? It's extra money and it could grow into something. Like you just talked to your neighbor about sending a couple mailers, turn into a whole business.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you took action though.
Yeah, it's funny too. I talked to him when I was doing deals. He's like, "You're doing what?" Like he was blown away, man. Like, and I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm starting to close deals." And like, we're talking about where these properties are. And he's like, "Oh my goodness, man, like that's phenomenal." And I wasn't doing anything, Bryan, that other people weren't able to do in the space. But it was cool that, he knew my story, and this truly came from, listening, watching some YouTube videos, reading some books and taking action, and I think that's so key. There's, and I have the personality where I have to reel it in sometimes, Bryan, but when I take action, I want to take some massive action, right? Like if we're going to do it, let's do it. And sometimes you need to balance yourself out with that. But I say that because a lot of people do a lot of research, have a lot of knowledge up here, right? But what do they do to apply it, right? To put it to action. And ultimately, you got to take action to get some results.
Dude, that's so huge. Because I say the same thing. It's like jump in the pool. You're either drowning or you're swimming. Most likely, you're going to learn to swim.
Yeah.
It's like people are so scared. They want to, I just got to keep learning. I don't know enough yet. And it's in your head.
Yep.
Because what you're learning in your head isn't what's happening in the real world anyways. Like once you jump in, you're gonna be like, you know what? It's different.
That's right.
You go out and you find someone that wants to sell their house to you, you will figure out what to do with it when you lock it up under contract.
That's right.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff, man. That's about all the time we got there. Anything else you wanted to run through, or do we pretty much cover the tip of the iceberg?
No, man. Thank you so much for having me, Bryan. I'm just blessed and fortunate, to be here, be able to have this conversation with you. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, this would be cool. Yeah, we'll have to do this again because there's a lot more we can talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. Hey, everyone listening. Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll have this on YouTube too. And Angelo, one other question. If anyone wants to reach out to you or connect, what's the best way to connect with you?
That's a great question. So I'm really not that active on social media, Bryan, but if someone wanted to reach out and shoot me an email, it's sellyourhomefasttampa@gmail.com. And that's 2 T's, sellyourhomefasttampa@gmail.com.
All right, cool guys. And we'll put that in the show notes also. And yeah, thanks for coming, Angelo. Everyone out there, go out and crush it and close some deals.